Financial Survival Network, helping you survive and thrive in the new economy. Go to CarrieLutz.com and sign up for 30 free micro trainings on financial survival.
1490 WGCH. This is Carrie Lutz, and you're listening to the Financial Survival Network, which is brought to you by Miles Franklin. They've been in business selling gold and silver for over 20 years, and I'm a customer because when you buy, they ship. For more information, find them on the web at milesfranklin.com or give them a call at 800-822-8080 and get a free quote. Peter Grandich, we always have him on the show, especially when the metals are getting slammed and his negative email is going up. And he's with us right now to, I wouldn't say assuage your doubts, but just to explain to you why these things happen and why you need to just go on with your plan. Hey, Peter, welcome back.
Thank you for having me, as always.
It's great to have you on. I think it's the first time I've had you on since I was at your event, and here we are. They're slamming it again. Gold and silver, they seem to be the Rodney Dangerfield of commodities at this point. What's your take on all the noise?
Well, first of all, I think, I've used that terminology, so it's interesting that you said it and you didn't know I used it. I always have called gold the Rodney Dangerfield of investments because it never gets respect no matter what it does. It goes back to something I've said for a long time, and my readers probably may even be tired of it, but gold is a hated investment. It's not ever going to be embraced or loved by the financial world and most of the media that follows it. So we're never going to get it. And then when it has its decline times, which inevitably all, even mega bull markets, which I believe gold is in, the vast majority who hate it get a chance to be like a broken clock, right, twice a day. And they pound and they make noise, and that's what we're going through here. You can't show it until it actually happens, but maybe you want to mark it down and say, look, let's have a show 90 or 120 days from now. But I believe if we do that, one of the discussions we'll have, it'll show that central banks were net major buyers during the second quarter, including during this decline. So it's a paper decline, and it brings on all the classics now. I was saying to you before we started recording this that we probably seen 6 or 8 of these in the last 10 years, and probably a dozen or more in the junior resource market. And unfortunately, many of the same things occur, including those nasty emails and people who shouldn't have been in the first place and get shaken out, and they say and take the actions that we're all seeing in the market. So is it easy to swallow? No. Do we get instant relief from this? No. It's not going to go be a V bottom and go straight back up, but it is nothing more than a bump in the road on the way to the mother of all gold bull markets that, in my opinion, is only a question of when it goes over 2,000, not if.
Okay, so Peter, I just want you to know that I marked down August 9th of 2012. We're doing an interview that day. We're going to go back. I'm going to play what you've said here, and we'll see how it turned out, because I think we all need to go back and examine our thinkings, our belief, our assumptions, and why you made a certain decision when you made it, and then see how it performed. Because if you don't learn from the past and your previous investing errors, you're going to keep on repeating them over and over again. And I know for myself, my main error was not having the right perspective, having erroneous beliefs, and then letting myself get shaken out and moved from good positions just because they went down a bit. And I think that's the problem with most people, is they are victims of their emotions. And let's face it, emotions play very important roles, but they can be out and out destructive when it comes to investing, right?
Yeah, and you make an excellent point, and it helped even serve me to remind me that, hey, you know what? There were 3 or 4 key points that when the market was going up that I said why we're in a global market. I said, 1, we used to have large biggest seller called central banks, and that used to depress the market, and they're gone. Well, we haven't seen that. In the last we known, they were buyers. And as I said, I think it will show that in the second quarter as well. Two, producers used to dramatically sell forward, in a sense, cut their nose to spite their face and depress a market. Well, we haven't seen any of that. Three, we felt there was runaway monetary and creation of money, which cheapens all paper money, or most of them, and therefore gold is beneficial. That certainly hasn't changed. And four, there were certain political, economic, and social concerns that we had to use as a safety net gold. Well, certainly none of those have changed as well. So other than the emotion of the swinging of the price, there's really been no fundamental change for any of us that just bought 3 months ago or 3 years ago. Now, if and when one or more of those things change and make the change, then we have to change accordingly with it. But that's why I remain so confidently bullish, simply because I know whatever got me in this, and it'll allow me to enjoy a much better bull market than anything that we've seen in financial assets during the same time frame. Nothing's changed in it other than how perception is at the moment. And again, remembering, and this is critical, people don't get it, but you're never going to hear widespread enthusiasm for gold. So the moment it goes down, you get a pile-on sense, and I've seen it, from Buffett to these guys in Canada and the typical same, the Gottmans and the Nadlers and all them, pounding their chest once again, and then they go in their hole when the next run begins, and then they come out again. And so I know it's tough for people. Believe me, like you said, my emails increased by 10,000%, when the gold market goes down versus up. But I know we're still in the right place.
Hey, and amen to that. There's not a question in my mind. I haven't seen a sane central banker, and I don't know if you have, but not since Paul Volcker, and arguably, we could debate his sanity, but he seemed to know something that the central bankers who are out there today don't get. And that is, you take the hit, you destroy inflation, because the alternative is you destroy confidence in fiat money. And fiat money has to be a confidence game. And I'm looking at the euro now, 129.7, and that is confidence erosion. And the European elections, it's all that noise. So it's throwing some money into the dollar right now, because the dollar is the mirror image of the euro, and the dollar goes up and people think, hallelujah, the U.S. is safe and sound. And that can be a fatal mistake, because like I said about assumptions, and like you said, you always need to question them, because your assumptions could be right at one time, and then the world changes and your assumptions are wrong, but you're still singing the same tune and you're getting burned. And I don't believe that that's the case right here. I think that that really we're looking at a European calamity here that's making the dollar look a lot better than it really is. Just broke 80, but in reality, it's just a piece of paper. It's just a green stamp, right?
Well, I think even more so, and I actually penned a commentary today to tie in with my daughter's 20th birthday, because I don't think people get it. But what's happening in Europe, and let's just take Greece for an example, is what is going to play out and is playing out here is just they're further along in the story. People got way overindulged in themselves. They spent far more than they took in. They allowed their government. Remember, the people are at fault too, because it wasn't a military hunter that took over and pointed guns to people and said, you got to do this. These people were elected, and they allowed them to stay in there. And they lived way beyond their means. They got caught with their pants down. They had to cut back. The people who borrowed said, we're not going to lend you any more money if you do. They took a haircut, lost 70% of their investment dollars. And now the people just said, you know what, we're not going to cut back. We don't want to do the tough measures and the tough stuff. Well, I don't see anything different that Americans are likely to do than the Greece people have chosen to do. And I suspect that's going to be the case in all the major debtor nations. And so what we've seen play in Europe, and Europe is the focal point at this moment, is going to come to the shores of America. And I don't think not 1% of Americans are fully prepared financially and mentally for that.
You make such a great point there, and that is, if you haven't figured out that this thing is unraveling by now, you're probably not going to until it's too late. And that's the amazing thing, is that when people realize that these dollars aren't all they've been cranked up to be, what are you going to do? You're going to go looking for things that have value, and you have to go to the metals. There is no other place. And then we're going to see a panic ensue where the prices probably become way more than they're worth, assuming that paper currency still has a value. And then we're going to see this reset take place. And I read this a couple of years ago, Peter, that they said, we're going to go back to the way things were in the 50s, where you had one car and a simpler life. And maybe if we could do that in an orderly way, it's not the worst thing. You're not going to have a TV in every room. And the amount of time that you have to work to obtain these goods, which has been going down over time, is going to go back up. And hopefully we get back to a point where there's a real economy and where savings becomes the linchpin, where you save and you help build wealth for yourself and the economy, rather than counting on Uncle Sam to try to create wealth, illusory wealth, and counting on the central bank to finance all this fantasy.
Well, I'll just say that, I have made, and through no fault of their own, because they're not guilty of anything, but I have made the public storage industry in America the poster child for what's wrong. And why I say that is neither our parents or grandparents ever had the need for public storage, because we didn't have all this stuff, and most of the stuff we don't even bought. We borrowed money to have it. And until we're closing public storage facilities versus opening them, and everywhere you go in America, they're opening new public storage facilities, we won't have fixed the problem. And you're right. It will be not only a return to a way of a simpler time, but a way to the founding fathers developed it, that put God and family first before, these crazy thoughts, and we make people that we see in these reality shows a way of living, or a desire to live that way. And that's what's all wrong in all of this, is that there's been a false belief that somehow more money will equal more happiness, and nothing is further from the truth, although people would want you to think a guy driving the bus can't be as happy as the guy that owns the bus company. But some of the happiest people I've ever met, and certainly content, are people that have little or no financial means, but they've learned to live a simple life and not have all the headaches that come with a complicated one.
Yeah, and not to get too much into the values of contemporary America, and the world for that matter, because it's all about acquisition. So when you get these toys, they're fun for a little while, but the enjoyment you get is fleeting. You mentioned your daughter's 20th birthday. The joy you get from your children is real, heartfelt, and that's really what this is about. Not how many rings you give her and how she's happy because she's gotten a lot of good presents, but just that her presence in your life gives your life a lot of meaning and a lot of gratitude.
Well, thank you. And you made my feeling, although my daughter's 3,000 miles away at the moment, you made the feeling of her birthday today that much more special for me. So thank you.
Hey, Will. Hey, thank you for coming on, and to co-opt the phrase of a great populist, the only thing to fear about precious metals is fear itself. And you've made us feel much less fearful about it, Peter. So we'll talk to you again in 120 days on August 9th of this year, and we'll see how it worked out.
Thank you.